Good morning and welcome to United Church of Christ, where no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are always welcome in this sacred space. Here are some opportunities for you to participate in the life of our church. I'd also like to say that some people shared some things that they've been doing in this time of home. Rod and Julia were and Eileen and Sib were doing some drives, and then also just a reminder, I should have started with this, sorry, just a reminder that we have some our Zoom has some norms. If you haven't muted yourself, please do that now. And if not, we'll have Robin do it. It's a little bit difficult for one person to do all the streams, so if you are not muted right now, please go ahead and mute yourself. The point of that isn't for you not to hear the service, it's so that we don't hear what's going on at your home, and that also the speaker who is speaking, they're the main box. And so that's one of our norms. Also, the Living the Questions that was planned for Monday at 10 a.m. has been canceled and will resume next Monday, June 1st. The Women's Zoom book group will begin on Tuesday, June 2nd with the book, The Time Is Now, A Call to Uncommon Courage. Please read the intro and the first 3 chapters. Also, some of the things that we've heard about that some families or people have been doing, the Clues family has been really involved. Everyone's been doing different things to participate and keep involved and keep people moving, like fixing bikes, teaching dance, making masks. Diana has made many masks. She took one to Phil. I'm sure some of other people have received some. And if you're interested or you need a mask, she's given her phone number. It is 559-269-5138. And just call her and you can get a mask. And I think Helmut's been working on some studies in Ethiopia. And so if you have done some things like that or want to share some of the different activities you've been doing, mine have not. I made some masks, but I also went blueberry picking. So that was kind of fun. But if you have something like that you'd like to share for our announcements, please let us know. Faith education team will be meeting on Tuesday at 7 p.m. The worship team will be meeting Wednesday at 5 p.m. For the summer, our e-news usually was every other week, but we are going to continue to do that weekly. And so please make sure that Lisa, if you have something for e-news, that you send it to Lisa and Doug, and they will make sure that we get that into the news. Also, during our invitation to giving, we'll be talking about stewardship, and we have some gift cards for our drawing. So that's when we'll be doing that drawing. So 2 of you from the stewardship campaign will get an Amazon gift card. And then also our pastor will begin having office hours Tuesday afternoons. What this means is if you'd like to chat with Julia by phone, please email or call Marilyn to have her give you a time for a call. Marilyn will organize this flow. Any questions, ask Marilyn. And now Julia has our final announcement.
Good morning. Great to see all of you. Now, a lot of you have probably heard local and national leaders urging businesses and services and churches to reopen. If you follow CUCC's Facebook pages, you might have already read an announcement that came from our church leadership. We are still committed, ongoing commitment to health and safety, heeding the guidance of public health experts. So now if you're not on Facebook and you have not read that, but would like an email with that information, you can just get in touch with Marilyn. She'll be back in her home office again on Tuesday. Briefly, what was stated there is that based on the stance of the wider United Church of Christ and our church discussion this past Thursday at council meeting, the leadership has made the decision to keep our church building doors closed. Not the church, but the doors. We do look forward to being together in person, I can't lie, but our commitment to safety and health is a priority for all of us. Of course, we try to continually make improvements in how we connect, not just Sunday mornings, but throughout the week. And if you have any input on that for us, we welcome that. We are fortunate to have Helmut Kloos, an internationally respected epidemiologist right here in our church. And already he's begun talking with the council about some of the considerations we need to keep in mind when we do decide to reopen again. So thanks to all of you for understanding and for your ongoing support.
Now let's bring in the light.
You are welcome into this place. You are welcome into this place. You are welcome into this house of God. You are welcome into this place. You are welcome into this place. You are welcome into this house of God. You are welcome into this place. You are welcome into this place. You are welcome into this house of God.
If you'll now join me in the call to celebration. Here we gather, each from our individual lives. We carry into this place the joys and the worries of our week, the weight of our personal experience, the anxieties of all that the future will hold.
Here we gather in prayer and preparation. Here we knit ourselves into a community. Here we hold one another in compassion. Here we remember that the work you have told us to do, we do not do it alone.
Come, let us worship.
Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about roller coasters. Personally, I don't like riding roller coasters, so I'm going to let Rossi explain his first time ever on a roller coaster.
Whenever I ride a roller coaster, I'm always very excited, but also sometimes scared. But like the first time I went on a roller coaster, I was very scared because I didn't know what it felt like to go on a roller coaster. At first, it was very scary, but then when I started riding the roller coaster, it was very enjoyable and I had lots of fun. And I was very excited that I got to ride the roller coaster.
As Rossi said, roller coasters are scary, but they're also enjoyable at the same time. Roller coasters can go up, down, left or right, just like our emotions. You never know what to predict next. One moment you can be sad, next moment you can be happy. You always have someone to talk to. We all know that quarantine sucks right now, but there's also an enjoyable part about quarantine. You get to stay home and not go to school, and you don't have to do as much work.
Although quarantine may be fun, there are some times when you're feeling down or feeling trapped in your house because you're bored or just feeling upset about something. But just spend time with your family and friends and enjoy the fun times with your family because eventually this will all be over.
We hope you have a great Sunday.
Hello, everybody. I'm Carol Kilburn. I'm the treasurer of the church, and I thought it would be a good idea this Sunday to give you a summary of the stewardship campaign. And I'm happy to say it's very good news. That's always fun. So, you know, usually when we have a stewardship campaign at the end, we like to give people the results. And sometimes they've had a big thermometer in the sanctuary and they've colored in the amount that we've brought, the pledges that have been promised. One time it was a big flower and they colored in the petals. Well, we don't have that because we're not together, but I am going to be able today to read to you the numbers that we have so far through our pledges. And just to give you a perspective, last year we projected that we would have $160,000 in pledges. And to date, right now, we've actually brought in $141,461 in actual money. So we're short $18,000 of our goal from last year. Our goal during this stewardship campaign, we've dropped it. It's now 150,000 to be more realistic in keeping with what we brought in last year. The good news is our pledges are now at $123,907, and we had 43 pledging units as of yesterday. So this is much better than we've had in years past. Historically, members of the church and people that might not be members but have generously offered donations don't usually, sometimes they don't pledge during the stewardship campaign. And so we get pledges all year long. And last year, our last pledge was given in October. And we will take them. We are very grateful and happy to get them, but it's very nice for the finance team to get the pledges on time during the stewardship campaign so that we can project an accurate budget, as accurate as possible. And so this year to have 43 turned in already is very, very good news. I did also count up the number of people who pledged last year who have not yet pledged this year, and that's 20 people. And if we add that money, what they pledged last year, that's $45,000, 45,900, so almost 46,000. If we add the two together, the 43 plus the 20, that would bring in 169,807, so almost $170,000, which would be 20,000 more than we pledged, which would help the church so much. So if we could get those 20 people to turn in their pledges quickly and then actually honor the pledges during the year, that would be a godsend for the church. So I want to thank all of you who increased your pledges. I did notice this year as the pledge cards were coming in, both online and the mail-in ones. Many of you increased your pledges, and some by $20 a month or a week, some by 10, some by 1,000, whatever they could do to help the church. And I want you to know that was noticed and appreciated. I also want to thank those people who usually give loose offerings. And since we're not in church anymore, loose offerings is down to almost zero. And we projected 31,000 last year in loose offerings. That's how much we usually get. And this year, it's not going to happen because of the pandemic. But some of you who are just loose offering donation people have pledged. So that's wonderful. So thank you very much. We will continue to accept pledges all year long, but those of you that are getting them in or have already turned them in, we appreciate that. Now, actual giving, just a quick reminder, if you are, we do want to make up that 18,000 that we still need this year. So go to Givelify. It's a quick little easy way to donate quickly to the church. Make sure you choose Community United Church of Christ in Fresno and donate what you can and honor your pledge for last year. You can also go through Vanco, sign up with Vanco, or go through your own bank and do monthly or weekly donations. Checks are always nice. We accept checks and we accept cash. I'm in the office usually every Monday, and I'll get your donations plugged into church windows so you get credit for it, and then we'll take your donations to the bank. So you can be sure that your money is safe. If you just stick it in the door, there's a little slot there, we'll get that. And so anyway, it's good news. Thank you very much. And here's Amy. She has something fun to do.
Here's the drawing. Yay, I know you guys are all pumped and ready for this, aren't you? One thing I've learned from this Zoom experience is how expressive I am with my eyeballs. Like, that's what my students see in class a lot. They get really excited about like prepositional phrases. Anyway, here is our wheel. And I'm going to spin it for our first $50 gift card. All the names of pledgers have been added to, this is a teacher tool, by the way. This is how I call them my students. Here we go. First spin. It's going to come up backwards for you guys, but I think we can read backwards. Marjorie. Oh, wait. Yes, Marjorie. Yay! So Marjorie gets the gift card. Woohoo! All right. I'm going to deactivate her because, we want another winner, All right. So I just deactivated her. That's the first time I ever used that on this app. I was hopeful that it didn't deactivate everybody. But anyway, here we go. Next one. You can still see Marjorie's little wedges in there. There's a glare. Aaron and AJ! Yay! There you go. All right, we will get those into the mail to you, or maybe, because we've been stuck in the house, we might drive them by, but leave them on your porch. You'll find them somewhere. All right, there you go. Congratulations, you guys.
All the pledges as of yesterday at 3 o'clock. I went to church and got the 3 that were there. So, yes. And are we going to listen to EJ's music?
Yes.
Okay, so let's listen to EJ's music as you consider the treasure. Almighty God, we bring gifts of time, talent, and treasure and offer them to you. Bless all that we offer, that it might be for the stewardship and the nurture of your beloved creation and of your children. By our gifts, may your presence in this world be made known. By our gifts, may we embody your grace and love towards all that you have made. Amen.
Good morning. It's good to see so many of you out there in Zoom world. So let's just take a nice deep breath in and slowly let it out. And as you hear these words, think about the wind and how it moves. How much it seems the voice of God in our lives is like the wind, so constant, so present, that we only notice it when it stops. In times of crisis, the loss of a loved one, a fight with a friend that leaves us misunderstood and unloved, maybe a marriage that's gone bad. Then we feel the great emptiness around us and reach out for the calming promise that we are not alone in the world. God's voice has not stopped. Like the wind, it has only paused to catch its breath and to remind us by its silence to listen more closely and take it less for granted when it begins to whisper once again. The great Hindu leader Mahatma Gandhi said, "It's better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart." Jesus in the Gospel of John said, "The wind blows where it will, and you will hear its sound, but know not whence it comes or to where it is going." It is not important that we know from whence they come or to where they are going, or even if we give them a name. All we need to know is that the moments of love, of caring, of the unprotected human heart, whenever we encounter them, are the voice of the Spirit, blowing like the wind through our everyday lives. Our task is to hear that voice and to make of each day a prayer that bears witness to its presence. This is from Kent Nurburn and the Hidden Beauty of Everyday Life.
Light the way, clear the path to your kingdom on earth at last. Guide our steps, form our minds, light the way. Blaze the trail, cut the stone, help us take up your cause as our own. Shape our hearts, form our minds, light the way. Light the way. Let all those rejoice who trust in you. Let praises be ever on their lips. Let gladness be always in our hearts. Let justice and peace be daily done. Light the way, clear the path to your kingdom on earth at last. Guide our steps, form our minds, light the way. Blaze the trail, cut the stone, help us take up your cause as our own. Shape our hearts, form our minds, light the way. Light the way. Let kindness be ever on our lips. Let gratitude guide our every thought. Let grace be our kind and constant friend. Let faithfulness burn within our souls. Light the way, clear the path to your kingdom on earth at last. Guide our steps, form our minds, light the way. Blaze the trail, cut the stone, help us take up your cause as our own. Shape our hearts, form our minds, light the way. Light the way. seen the world, I've seen the way the people walk, in different places how they talk. The similarities are stark, there's no escape from the humanity we share. There's not a reason to be scared, to just admit that you have noticed too. When you look into my eyes, what do you see? You or me, we are one. We live beneath the common sun, dance beneath the moon. The natural things we do, they make us one. And I'm convinced when life is done, the mystery revealed will simply be that we are one. Just take my hand, feel the roughness of my skin. Family, you and I are kin. You can't keep out what's deep within. You know the truth, that you and I and all the earth are bonded by a common birth. It's God who gives each life its sacred worth. A sheep alone is not a flock, my worthy friend. Take my hand, we are one. We live beneath the common sun, dance beneath the moon. The natural things we do, they make us one. And I'm convinced when life is done, the mystery revealed will simply be that we are one. Simply be that we are
Good morning, everyone. Today's God is Still Speaking comes from Psalm 62. For you alone my soul waits in silence. From the beloved comes my salvation. Enfolding me with strength and steadfast love, my faith shall remain firm. Yet, how long will fear rule my life, holding me in its grip like a trembling child, a dark and lonely grave? Fear keeps me from living fully, from sharing my gifts. It takes pleasure in imprisoning my soul. Fear pretends to comfort, so long has it dwelled within me. Truly it is my enemy. For you alone my soul waits in silence. My hope is from the beloved. Enfolding me with strength and steadfast love, my faith shall remain firm. In the silence rests my freedom and my guidance, for you are the heart of my heart. You speak to me in the silence. Trust in love at all times. O people, pour out your heart to the beloved. Let silence be a refuge for you. Being of low estate is but a sigh. Being of high estate is misleading. In the balance, either high or low, it is of little consequence. They are gone in one breath. Riches, whether obtained by right or through extortion, rarely lead to naught but greed. Set not your heart on them. Once you have spoken, twice have I heard. Our potential gifts belong to you. To you, O beloved, belongs our faithful love. For you render to us all that we offer to you. Fear begets fear, love begets love. For you alone my soul waits in silence. From the beloved comes life, love, and light.
Good morning again. I don't know what was my favorite part, hearing Ellie in the background, or your voice, Erin, or listening to Rossi and Aravis earlier talking about the roller coaster. I find that Aravis and Rossi are great illustrators of everyday experiences. So we really appreciate it. We appreciate the energy, the creativity, and the time you invest every week giving us these understandable mini sermons, in a sense. Great job. I know all of us are muted, but let's just take a moment to give them a hand. Yes, the roller coaster. That up and down, that sideways lurch, and then slowing down, and then suddenly picking up speed again. Some people thrive on that kind of that anticipation, that adventure, that back and forth terror, I would call it. I was a kid who got motion sick in the back seat of a car. So I'm with you, Aravis. I'm not a big fan of roller coasters. Even now, when we're driving in the mountains, I do better in the driver's seat than sitting in the passenger seat. And then there are ships and ferries. I've never been on a cruise for obvious reasons, but I've been on a many-hour ferry ride. And even that shakiness under my feet, that instability. I love the view, but that sensation, not so much. When you get off of a roller coaster or out of a car in the mountains or step out of a boat, you have to get your land legs under you again. And however quickly that happens, however that equilibrium returns to you, may determine whether or when you're going to want to get on another ride or into another boat. I also agree with Rossi and Aravis. This time of pandemic and isolation feels like a roller coaster. We don't know what's around the corner. Sometimes it seems this whole ride knocks the wind out of us. We hear conflicting reports. We hear terrifying messages. We feel disoriented and unsettled. One thing about it, though, this is our common experience. We are in this together. We cannot overemphasize that fact, even though we may tire of hearing it repeatedly. I've heard people say, I'm worried, but I'm trying to remain hopeful. Someone has said, I need to invite the presence of God into my space every day. Otherwise, anxiety starts to creep in. Others are having sleep disturbances. Some are having nightmares. Some are having many more dreams during this time. Then there's the worry about the future. How are we going to pay our bills? Will school open in the fall? And for our graduates, what's it going to be like if I can't go to high school, start middle school, start college on an actual campus? How's that going to work? These are all questions we're faced with during this time. The roller coaster further disorients us when we hear pressure on the one side, reopen our communities, versus continuing to recognize our precarious position locally, nationally, and globally. There are demands of work, kids, Zoom schooling, getting out to shop on a regular basis, but as limited as possible. All of those are anxiety creating, whether we feel it or not. In addition, there's the agony of so many who live alone. We're touch deprived, longing for those loved ones in person. We fear becoming ill and becoming even more alone, whether that illness is COVID related or not. This is our common experience, and this is our roller coaster. We are physical, spiritual, emotional, intellectual, and relational people, and our current social upheaval impacts all of who we are, our whole person. That's part of the reason why our thinking and our feeling is entirely different than it ever has been before, because we are
thinking and feeling about different things. Just knowing that this impacts us deeply helps us understand that there is nothing wrong with us. We are simply human. The psalm that Erin read, and the way she read it just introduced it so well, contains words that could come from any one of us. How long will fear rule my life? It is our common enemy. The writer of this psalm personifies fear, bringing it very close to home, almost letting us touch it tangibly. Definitely, fear touches us, but it does a whole lot more than touch us. Here are the words that are used. It grips us, it rules us, it imprisons us. Those words don't inspire peace. Ruling, gripping, imprisoning are words of power over. Kids will let you know very quickly, you're not the boss of me. Or, hey, let me go, if you're tugging on their arms. We don't like to feel ruled, being held in a grip, or imprisoned. Goes against everything we are. Did you notice that this text also states, fear pretends to comfort. So long has it dwelled within me. Fear is an imposter, posing as something it's not, promising something it'll never deliver. So if we don't have our anxiety, we feel comfortless? Is that what it's saying? Think about that for a minute. We can become addicted to fear. And so when you take away that security blanket, it feels like we're left without comfort. But please know, fear is an imposter, which masquerades as comfort, especially when many people share that same fear. And fear can come from many quarters. Some fear the pandemic, others fear government overreach. And to some degree, we all fear our future. Succumbing to any fear over a longer period of time will paralyze us. If fear is our underlying reality, the continual up and down, back and forth, it will feel like a roller coaster. The writer of the psalm also says, fear begets fear, which means fear gives birth to fear. It multiplies. One fear leads to another, then to another, and still another. So if fear leaves us increasingly restless, which leads to even more anxiety, what will become of us? Let's find another metaphor. Let's get off the roller coaster, sit out a ride or two or three, and think music for a while. In Baroque music, which is that musical era between about 1600 and 1750, there is a musical element referred to as the continuo. The continuo part of the music score, usually played by a cello or bass in addition to harpsichord or organ, lays the groundwork for the intricacies and melodies of the piece. The continuo score provides the bass part, with the rest of the harmonies being inferred rather than spelled out. They use numbers instead of notes. It offers suggestions for basic harmonic structures rather than dictating fixed notes, as musicians are accustomed to today. Now, don't get any impressions. No, I'm not a musician. So I can just thank EJ and Jenny and Rennie for those insights, and I hope I understood them. It's pretty technical, especially for those of us who are not musicians. But what is important for today's consideration is that the continuo provides both foundational stability for this piece of music, and it offers flexibility for the musician's imagination and improvisation. Yes, we're moving between metaphors here, from the instability and the uncertainty of the roller coaster to the more structured foundational framework offered by the continuum. Can we think together for a little bit about what provides that continual effect in our lives, or could provide it? What is the framework, the grounding that could hold our piece of music or our peace of mind together? If we look back at this psalm and lay aside those fear words, grip, rule, imprison, pretend, we'll find a very different repertoire to choose from. If we choose a different tone, cultivate a different mindset, we can find our way to a different outcome. Listen to these words and see whether they sound more appealing. Wait, hope, rest, trust, silence. Okay, I can almost hear the rebuttals going on in your brain. Just a minute, that's not really what I bargained for. It's unrealistic, it's naive, and besides that, it sounds pretty boring. The last thing I need is passivity in this time when the whole world is in chaos and out of control. But stay with me for just a bit. Remember that fear pretends it's an imposter. The ongoing level of anxiety we feel is not something that we were created to endure. We have to intentionally reach for this antidote. In our culture, we are not equipped to be able to function with a different set of prerequisites. It's a conscious decision we have to make day by day. Sometimes it's from hour to hour. We've spent a lot of time learning these things that our society tells us. And unless we've spent time intentionally learning how to name our fears, let them go, wait in silence, as we do as we practice centering, it's difficult to find the space to ask God for and receive the gifts that God has for us. Self-reliance is ingrained in us. Learning to trust is a process. Action brings about change is our mantra. It's hard to see any value in waiting. The endurance that results from strenuous training is epitomized. It's a new perspective altogether to recognize the strength of rest and the training that goes into that. When we're driven by tangible, visible goals, which aren't wrong, but goals such as the bottom line, a graduation diploma, the next big vacation, finishing a project we've been working on, training ourselves to consider rest, waiting, silence, and hope as anything but secondary and passive is a big step. Think of these different kinds of mindsets as action. Action that at the outside is less visible and yet much more critical to our well-being, maybe even to our survival. Dr. Cornel West, author, activist, and professor at Harvard University, said last week, and I quote, "I'm a blues man. The blues man takes despair and transfigures it into song, life, deed, and action. Hope is as much a verb as it is a virtue." Did you get that? Hope is as much a verb as virtue. Trust is a verb. Rest is a verb. And verbs, as we know all too well, denote action. One way to take despair and transfigure it into song and life and deed and action is to ponder where and on whom our hope rests. I am convinced that nothing can separate us from God's love in Christ Jesus. Not death or life, not angels or rulers, not present things or future things, not powers or height or depth, or anything that is created. That's from Romans 8. And that's the continuum. The love of God and the impossibility of being separated from it. This is the baseline, the sustaining chords, the continuo that provides grounding for us as we work out our harmonies and melodies instead of staying on the roller coaster. One way to transform what appears to be the passivity of this song into hopeful action is to rephrase some of the statements into affirmations. Let me give you a couple of examples. The text reads, "For you alone my soul waits in silence." We can reword that to become, "God, I will wait for you in silence." Another quote, "Enfolding me with strength and steadfast love, my faith shall remain firm." That becomes, "My faith is unshakable because your strength and steadfast love surround me. In the silence rests my freedom and my guidance. You speak to me in the silence." And that becomes, "I am guided into freedom from God's place of stillness." Hope is not wishful thinking. Rest is not inactivity. Silence is not the lack of stimulation or creativity. Waiting is not the inability to progress. As I wait and hope and trust, I invite love, which is the all-encompassing name for God. Love begets love. Roller coasters are great amusements for those who have a stomach that can handle it, and for those who relish in that collective scream. There are things in our day-to-day life that we cannot control. We are responsible only for the things we can control. And at this time, making measured and life-saving decisions are the most important. Fear would love to strap us into that emotional and mental roller coaster, promising a comfort it can never provide. Fear begets fear. Love begets love. We are offered the gifts of the steadfast continuo, the choice to wait, endure, trust, rest together in harmony. We are reminded that hope is a verb which transfigures despair into life, song, deed, and action. Let's choose the continuo. We can choose it together. I invite you to pray with me. God of this earth and all that is and who are within it, we are often tired, fearful, assaulted by troubling news reports, as if we're on the roller coaster. Today we choose the continuo of hope, trust, and endurance. Today we choose conscious actions in line with who you are. God, you are our great love. We choose love and turn our back on fear, consciously, deliberately, decisively. Give us the strength to persist in the face of daily onslaughts. Amen.
me. You are working in my heart and I rejoice. I feel the Spirit moving fast. I feel it moving me at last. I want to tell the world what's going on. God's left in my soul every day, God's forming my mind in brand new ways. God's filling my heart with a new song today. When I wander like a shepherd, you are near. You're always beside me. You are with me even when the way's unclear. You never ask me to be stayed. I'm unashamed, I'm unafraid. Your plans for me are clearer by the day. God's lifting my soul every day. God's forming my mind in brand new ways. God's filling my heart. God's lifting my soul every day. God's forming my mind in brand new ways. God's filling my heart with a new song today.
Thank you, Julia, for your words, and let us enter into a time of prayer. The prayers that I've received for this week are continued prayers for Marjorie Mulvihill. She is back in the hospital, so if you would please send some healing prayers her way. God, hear our prayers. Prayers of healing for Everett, who's Cecilia's 4-year-old grandson, who's dealing with loss of vision issues, and we're hoping that this treatment will work. God, hear our prayers. And there's prayers of celebration for Nancy's granddaughter, Emily, whose birthday is today, and for Sib White's birthday tomorrow. God, hear our prayers. Let us pray. In your mercy, God of love, help us to show forth your love to all of this world. Help us to seek out and lift up your presence and the inbreaking of your kingdom wherever we might find it in this world. Remind us that our work is not to our own glory, but always to yours. You who created and loved us all with grace and abundance. Help us to look to you, not in clouds and light and heavenly splendor, but among the parched lands in needs of rain, among those who are most hurt by the brokenness of this world, for refugees and asylum seekers, people impacted by substance use disorder, systemic racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, for those who have lost their jobs, and for those who are trying to feed their families and pay their bills. We also lift up all the many folks who put their lives on the line every day to care for those who are sick. God of grace, help us to move the prayers of our hearts into our hands and our feet. Amen. Please join me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
As we go from here today, I'm reminded of the words that Eileen read with us as we opened the service. Here they are, a little bit reworded. She read, "Here we have gathered, each from our individual lives. We have carried into this place the joys and the worries of our week, the weight of our personal experience, the anxiety of all that the future may hold. Here we have gathered in prayer and resolve. Here God has knitted us into a community. Help us, God, in our compassion. Remind us that the work God has called us to do, we do not do alone. Go in hope."
Shine on, God, shine on. Teach us love, we pray. Send us out to spread your love and grace, and maybe there'll be peace someday. Shine on, God, shine on. Teach us love, we pray. Send us out to spread your love and grace, and maybe there'll be peace someday.
One of the ones